Welcome to Live Mint. I'm Aminah, Sheikh, and I have with me an inspiring man for the media and entertainment industry, Ronnie Screwwala, somebody who started off his outfit from a makeshift arrangement in his apartment to being able to, manage to get Walt Disney to buy his company UTV in India, a massive achievement, setting benchmarks in the industry. So, Mr. Screwwala, how do you see your journey to begin with? And then we'll talk about Ficci Frames 2013, of course.
Well, I see it as fun. I think very rarely do people get a chance to look at their profession and look at their hobby and look at both and combine it. And I think I've been very, very blessed and very, very fortunate to enjoy the last 15, 20 years as a hobby, as a profession, and as building a company with some phenomenal team members. So mixed feelings, but always no regrets.
Pardon me for saying this, but you were always viewed, and I'm guessing you still are viewed, as somebody who has always built brands, whether it was Hungama and then now UTV, of course. What is it that competition or people, peers in your industry have not been able to do that at the moment? Why?
I don't think there's a not and a do. I can only speak for what we've done. I can't really speak for what's not done, because I think the media is one where brands and super brands are made. I think we've always been very clear who our consumer is. We've always gone out and identified that. We spend a lot of time on research. If you just take these two combinations, and I think, one of my co-founder members, Zarina, who's also my wife, actually focused a lot. So if there's any credit to some of the branding that's happened in the industry, and specifically for UTV or Bindas or Hungama, it's actually been with her thoughtfulness of zeroing down on the customer and building it. I think we've also been very fortunate because Bollywood is always bigger than life. And I think the fact that UTV has been synonymous to as something as television content, to television channels, to movies, to games, adds to that. So I think the 360-degree approach also helped a lot.
Like Andy Bird mentioned that it is probably, and so did even Mr. Kaplan, saying that it is the best time for content makers, to be in India at the moment. Is that a view you share as well?
I think it's always the best time because the content is one which is going to just keep going from. So if you asked me that 10 years back, I would have said it's the best time. If you ask me 10 years from now, I'm going to tell you it's the best time.
So what do you think really has shifted with this whole democratization of consumers and viewers?
The expectancy. I think the question is that people are demanding more. They're quite brutal about their assessment. It helps in actually flattening the base. It gives you immediate feedback. And I think to a certain extent, people are looking for much more crisper, shorter, hard-hitting communication in any form whatsoever. If they want to be entertained, they want to be entertained hard. I think the youth of India are impatient to receive and watch something which is short. And I don't mean short just for the sake of being short. So if we take all of these, I think that's an interesting time. But that does not mean that it replaces anything. This is a very large country, which is in very many stratas, very, very divided. And I think from that aspect, there'll always be room for different offerings at different levels.
Having mentioned that, how do you see new media panning out in the Indian, diaspora?
I see it really as the future. I mean, I think I'm definitely one of many, I hope, who actually believes very strongly that there's a strong future for it. I think the technology is there. I think the viewing habits are there. The audience is as strong as it gets. We're the youngest country in the world. Obviously, that's going to be the most receptive country in the world. So we do have an issue where we need to put on the switch for bandwidth. And then we need to have the offerings that go with the bandwidth, because we can't give them whatever they've been available on different screens only on that. And I think it will happen.
Like you mentioned that, definitely it's the bandwidth and the content that will sort of get you 10 years down the line to be more expensive than oil.
I didn't say more expensive. I said more valuable than oil, actually. So it's going to be more valuable than oil. And I didn't say 10 years. I think it can be even shorter than that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. And also, lastly, what I would want to know is what are the challenges that you see that need to be overcome, especially in terms of regulatory issues or infrastructure?
I think I have said it, and I do say it, that we are, from a regulatory point of view, we're one of the least regulated countries in the world. And we really need to be doing that. Forget about the SAARC countries. You take Malaysia, you take the United States from that point of view. They have a very strong FCC. They have very strong restrictions on cross-media. We don't even discuss cross-media restrictions in this country. They're equally strong when it comes to owning news channels or owning broadcast networks here. A foreigner can own an entertainment channel here. You can't You can't do it in the single largest country and the biggest economy in the world. So if you look at that, we've got very, very good regulatory environments. And I think to the extent that that's been good, I think the only two places where maybe it would have helped. I think the cable industry would have grown in a very different manner if the regulation was there from day one. And I think the hysterical news channels need to get regulated.
What is your view of this whole digitization rollout? And also with this whole customs duty thing, which also, has been receiving mixed responses?
I don't think it's been receiving mixed responses. I think, as the minister rightly put it, yes, 5% to 10% is doubling, so it sounds like good sensationalism for media. But in an economy where we have to see that set-top boxes can be made in this country, it's the right spectrum to say that, all right, I'm going to create a certain element of disincentive for importing it from China or Singapore or Thailand or wherever else. So I mean, outside of the fact that it would hurt all of us in some sense, in the larger scheme of things, the 5 to 10% is not going to make a difference.
And lastly, do you really think Indian cinema is going to be able to cross the 1,000 crore threshold, given that we are under screen?
Yes, I think so. I think today there are movies that would have done 1,000 crores if we had just done 2 or 3 things in that context. And I think there's a clear potential. The actual people who are consuming it during the first 3 weeks are in some form or the other value-wise past 1,000 crores. But most of them are not paying for it. That's the problem.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. To know more on Ficci Frames 2013, log on to www.livemint.com.